Hello, today I am going to narrate a short story from Malgudi Days written by R.K. Narayana. Ishwaran. When the whole of the student world in Malgudi was convulsed with excitement on a certain evening in June when the intermediate examination results were expected, Ishwaran went about his business looking very unconcerned and detached. He had earned the reputation of having aged in the intermediate class. He entered the intermediate class in Albert Mission College as a youngster with faint down on his upper limbs. Now he was still there. His figure had grown brawny and athletic, and his chin had become tanned and leathery. Some people even said that you could see grey hairs on his head. The first time he felt his parents sympathized with him. The second time also he managed to get their sympathies, but subsequently they grew more critical and unsparing, and after repeated failures they lost all interest in his examination. He was often told by his parents, "Why don't you discontinue your studies and try to do something useful?" He always pleaded, "Let me have this one chance." He clung to university education with a ferocious devotion. And now the whole town was agog with the expectations of results in the evening. Boys moved about the street in group, and on the other side of Sarayu, they sat in cluster nervously smiling and biting their fingernails. Others hung about the gate of Senate House, staring anxiously at the walls behind which a meeting was going on. As much as the boys, if not more, the parents were agitated, except Ishwarans, who, when they heard their neighbors discussing their sons' possible future results, remarked with a sigh, "No such worry for Ishwaran. His results are famous and known to everyone in advance." Ishwaran said facetiously, "I have perhaps passed this time, father. Who knows? I did study it quite hard. You are the greatest optimist in India at the moment, but for this obstinate hope, you would never have appeared for the same examination every year. I failed only in logic, very narrowly last year," he defended himself, at which the whole family laughed. "In any case, why don't you go and wait along with the other boys and look up your results?" his mother asked. "Not at all necessary," Ishwaran replied. "If I passed, they will bring home the news. Do you think I saw my results last year? I spent my time in a cinema. I sat through 2 shows consecutively." He hummed as he went in for a wash before dressing to go out. He combed his hair with deliberate care, the more so because he knew everybody looked on him as a sort of an outcast for failing so often. He knew that behind him the whole family and the town were laughing. He felt that they remarked among themselves that washing, combing his hair, and putting on a well-ironed coat were luxury too far above his state. He was a failure and had no right to such luxuries. He was treated as a sort of thick-skinned idiot, but he did not care. He answered their attitude by behaving like a desperado. He swung his arm, strode up and down, backed and shouted, and went to a cinema. But all this was only a mask. Under it was a creature hopelessly seared by failure, desperately longing and praying for success. On the day of the results, he was inwardly in a trembling suspense. "Mother," he said as he went out, "don't expect me for dinner tonight. I will eat something in a hotel and sit through both the shows at the place Talkies." Emerging from Vinayak Street, he saw a group of boys moving up the market road toward the college. Someone asked, "Ishwaran, coming up to see the results?" Yes, presently, but now I have to be going on an urgent business." "Where?" "Place Talkies." As this all the boys laughed. "You seem to know your result already, do you?" "I do. Otherwise, do you think I would be celebrating it with a picture?" "What is your number?" "785. he said, giving the first set of number that come to his head. The group passed on, joking. We know you are going to get a first class in this time. He sat in a far-off corner in the 4 Anna class. He looked about, not a single student in the whole theatre. All the students of the town were near the Senate House waiting for their result. Ishwaran felt very unhappy to be the only student in the whole theatre. Somehow fate seemed to have isolated him from his fellow beings in every aspect. He felt very depressed and unhappy. He felt an utter distaste for himself. Soon the light went out and the show started, a Tamil film with all the knows God in it. He soon lost himself in the politics and struggle for God and goddesses. He sat wrapped in the vision of a heavenly world which some film director had chosen to present. This felicity of forgetfulness lasted but half an hour. Soon the heroine of the story sat on a low branch of a tree in paradise and wouldn't move out of the place. She sat there singing a song for over half an hour. The portion tried Ishwaran, and now there returned all the old pains and gloom. "Oh lady," Ishwaran appealed, "don't add to my trials. Please move on." As if she heard this appeal, the lady moved off, and brighter things followed. A battle, a duel, somebody dropping headlong from Couch Lane, and somebody coming up from the bed of an ocean, a rain of fire, a rain of flour, people dying, people rising from graves, and so on. All kinds of thrills occurred on that white screen behind the pall of tobacco smoke. The continuous babble on and off the screen, music and shouting, the cry of peddlers selling soda, the unresistant comment of the spectators, all this din and commotion helped Ishwaran to forget the Senate House and the student life for a few hours. The show ended at 10 o'clock in the night. A crowd was waiting at the gate for the night show. Ishwaran walked across to Anand Bhavan, a restaurant opposite Palace Talkies. The proprietor, a general Bombay man, was a friend of his and cried, "Ishwaran sap, the restaurant was announced today. What about yours?" "I did not write any examination this year," Ishwaran said. Why? I thought you paid your examination fees." Ishwaran laughed. "You are right. I have passed my intermediate just this evening." "Ah, how very good. How clever you must be. If you pray to Hanuman, he will always bring your success. What are you going to do next?" "I will go to higher class, that is all," Ishwaran said. He ordered a few titbit and coffee and rose to go. As he paid his bill and walked out, the hotel proprietor said, "Don't leave me out when you are giving a dinner to celebrate your success." Ishwaran again purchased a ticket and went back to the picture. Once more, all strife and struggles and interview of gods were repeated before him. He was once again lost in it. When he saw on the screen some young men of his age singing as they sprouted in the water of some distant heaven, he said, "Well, might you do it, boys? I suppose you have no examination. Where you are?" And he was seized with a longing to belong to that world. Now the leading lady sat on the low branch of a tree and started singing, and Ishwaran lost interest in the picture. He looked about for me first time. He noticed in the semi-darkness several group of boys in the hall, happy group. He knew they all must have all seen their result and come to celebrate their success. There were at least 50. He knew that they must be a happy and gay lot, with their lip red from chewing betel leaves. He knew that they all of them would focus their attention on him the moment the light went up. They would all rag him about his result, all the old tedious joking over again, and all the tiresome pose of a desperado. He left truly sick of the whole business. He would not stand any more of it, the meritful face of these men of success and their leers. He was certain that they would all look on him with the feeling that he had no business to seek the pleasure of a picture on that day. He moved on to more obscure corner of the hall. He looked at the screen, nothing there to cheer him. The leading lady was still there, and he knew she would certainly stay there for next 20 minutes singing her masterpiece. He was overcome with dejection. He rose silently, edged towards the exit, and was out of the theatre in a movement.